Hey folks, welcome to the Wealth Transfer with TC. Today, I want to talk a little bit about the economy and inflation and how it relates with us in the wealth transfer, and also discuss a little bit about preparation as far as your storehouse. Now, before we get into that, folks, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just sharing information, giving you my thoughts and my opinions on that information. So if you guys like these videos that I make, the support links are down below in the description and also the About section of YouTube. Now, the first thing that I want to bring up is where I think we are at in this wealth transfer. Okay, and I'm talking about the wealth transfer for everyone, right? Not individuals, not a group of people or a handful of people. I'm talking about for everyone. And I'm relating this to, biblically speaking, when we look at Egypt and the Hebrews. The Egyptians are going through hell, and the Hebrews aren't being touched from that. And there was some preparation in that, right? Even with one of the plagues where they had to mark the door with blood, right? To protect themselves from what was coming upon the Egyptians. But when the Hebrews left, they left with gold and food and a whole bunch of other things that were given to them from the Egyptians, all right? And those resources were used on their journey to go into the promised land. Okay, so that's where I think that we are at right now, is that we're getting ready to experience that time when we are going to be coming out of Egypt, but coming out wealthy and eventually using that wealth to get into the promised land, the land flowing with milk and honey. That by the time that we reach that point, when we look at the wealth transfer as a whole, we look at all the different wealth transfers in all these different areas, and by the time that it's done, we should be in our land flowing with milk and honey. And it's not something that's going to be easy. There's going to be battles that take place, but eventually we will get there. So I believe that's where we are at right now. I think we're getting ready to experience this first part of this wealth transfer. And it's going to provide us everything that we need to do, whether it's for your ministry, whether it's for your storehouse, whether you need to move, whether you need to stock up on food and water. You will be able to do all those things. Now, one of the things I want to get into is the economy. And I came across this article, and it reminded me of a Christopher Harris prophetic word. And the title of this is, Lying About the Economy Will Only Make the Coming Crash Worse. And we've seen over the last month them try to change the definition of a recession. We've tried to see them change the definition of inflation. And it's absolutely ridiculous, but we know why they're doing it. And then we have the media, who is that political arm of this administration, that they're doing everything they can to reinforce what they are lying about. And so if you remember before the Ukraine war, inflation was already going up. Gas was going up. Food prices were going up. We were having shortages. Remember the baby formula shortages and all that stuff, right? It was a pretty big deal. So those things were already happening before the war. But then when the war started, this administration started blaming all those issues on Russia and Putin. They didn't take responsibility. They just pushed the responsibility on something that had just started. Most Americans fell for this. And I remember I was at the grocery store and I saw a former coworker, and I was talking to her, and we were talking about the economy, and she's like, yeah, it's Putin's price hike. It's because of him. Everything's going on. I asked her, I was like, well, don't you remember all the things that were going on before the war even happened? It's like people forget. Like you forget that gas was already high. You forget that prices of food were already high, right? And yes, they did go up even more because of that, but you're blaming everything on that. And that's not the case at all whatsoever. There's a lot of people that are uneducated about, the inflation and what was going on with their economy before the Ukraine war. But let me read this prophetic dream from Christopher Harris, because this dream speaks to me dealing with what this administration is trying to do. And then he said this last year. I had a dream of the U.S. and Australian markets and financial groups leaders in fear, panic, that they were anxiously awaiting a massive drop in the markets. It was like they had done all they could do to avert it and were trying to make it appear as if business was normal, but they were very worried of a coming major crash. There was an urgency with this dream. So what's going on right now is that they're doing all that they can do right now to try to keep the economy up. If they were to go to a gold back or a commodity back system, that could save what's going on right now. But they will never do that. They could change things if countries were allowed to revalue their currency, right, to where it should be, right, and handing wealth over to the people, right? So there's a lot of things that they can do, but they're not going to do it. So in their minds, they're doing all that they could do to avert it, with the Federal Reserve tools and all that stuff. But they're trying to make it appear as if business was normal. Okay, that's the other thing. Even the press secretary came out and said this was the economy that we're in is the greatest economy that the United States has ever been in. And they've changed the definitions of inflation and recession. And they make all these excuses and say inflation is at zero. They try to throw in all these extra numbers and all this and that, And so what business is normal means that they come out with their lies and they say that everything's okay. The United States economy is in its best shape. Unemployment is low. And there's all these other numbers that they try to throw out. Right? But they don't realize that over the last 2 years, many people have lost their jobs, their businesses. They have to work 2 jobs. They have to downgrade of where they're used to living. But see, what most people don't understand is that they're little sound bites that they have that, inflation is at zero, right? And it's going across the screen. Or they briefly talk about it in their sound bites with the news. And so people think, everything is normal. Oh, yeah, it's Putin's fault that we have high gas prices. It's Putin's fault that we have high grocery prices. But they forget where they were at before all of this. And I think that's one of the biggest downfalls of human beings is that we forget where we were at when we get comfortable. And I think there's going to come a time in this nation where it's going to be shaken. Right? And I'm sorry to say this, and I know that there are prophets out there that disagree with me, but in order for these wealth transfers to happen, a lot of bad things have to happen in certain areas of the economy in order for this to happen. A lot of Americans are going to be hurt in this. Just like right now, people in Sri Lanka are hurt. Right? Just like right now in South American countries, there's a lot of people hurt. Right? They're Christians and non-Christians. Right? So this country, just because it's America, don't think that these things can't happen to us. I remember hearing somebody talk about, if this country falls, that means people are going to be losing their jobs, people are going to be hungry and all this and all that. Well, what do you think is happening all around the world? So this is what this administration is doing, folks. So when I tell you they're trying to cover things up, they are with what's going on with the economy. So it's just a matter of time before things fall. And that just doesn't come from me. There are plenty of economic experts that are telling you what's really going on. And they're not paid pundits from the media. Okay, and I do want to share this because I know that there is some relief going on, and there's some celebration going on about the gas prices. The gas prices were down, about $1.15 from its peak from where I live. But the national average right now is $3.94 a gallon. That's still pretty high. And I know that when the elections took place in 2020, a gallon of gas in my area was about $2. Right now, it's about $3.75. And the prices at the grocery stores, the prices at your Walmarts and stuff like that, they are not going to come down just because regular gasoline comes down. All right. It all depends on diesel. Okay. A month ago, diesel was $5.54 on average. It's currently, this average is $5.01. So even a 30-day change, it's only dropped by 53 cents. That is not going to be enough to drop the prices to where they were before all this inflation was kicking in. Now, if it's taken this long for it to reach these prices, how long do you think it's going to be before you see prices being normal again in the grocery stores? It's going to be a long time, folks. And this is why I tell you, you need to be preparing yourself. Okay, so what a lot of people don't understand, the biggest cost in our economy is transportation. And with diesel being at $5.01 and just a year ago was at $3.29, that is a big difference when it comes to transportation. Because you have a factory that gets raw materials shipped in. And guess what? That raw material company has to charge the manufacturers more money. And then the manufacturers have to pass that cost on down to the distribution warehouses, and which then gets passed down to the grocery stores, which thus gets passed down to the consumer. 99% of the fuel that's used for transportation is diesel. So you're not going to see those prices that you saw a year ago or even a year and a half ago until you see the price of diesel go back down to around $3 per gallon. Because even if it just dropped $1 right now and diesel was at $4, the manufacturers in the transportation, they're not going to lower their costs anytime soon, right? First of all, there has to be a trend in the downfall of prices and no threat of them going back up anytime soon. Okay, so I've actually seen these transportation prices in a grocery store, and I've seen them increase month after month after month after month. And everybody's passing the cost all the way down to the grocery stores. And so they got to pass on all those costs down to the consumer. So don't think that the prices in your stores are going to go down just because gasoline is going down. It's all going to be about diesel. But right now, since people can't afford those 50-inch or 60-inch TVs, they can't afford to be buying video games, they can't afford to be doing this, they can't afford to travel and do all these different things. So a lot of these items that are in the store, you actually might start to see them being overstocked because they can't afford those items like electronics, like TVs, right? You're going to see a massive drop in price in televisions because people aren't buying televisions. They're keeping what they got because they can't afford to upgrade. So you're going to see a lot of these 50 and 60-inch televisions drop in price because they're going to be what? Overstocked. You're probably going to see that with computers and video games and all types of other things because people don't have the money to purchase those things anymore. And when it comes to expensive clothing, right, you're going to see overstock. You're just going to see overstock in a lot of different things. Brings me to my last subject, and this just deals with making sure that you guys are at least prepping yourself to stock up on food and other items. And everybody's situation is different. Everybody's living situation is different. Everybody deals with different things. You know, in Texas and California, you know, they talk about rolling blackouts. So you have to prepare yourself for rolling blackouts. So there might be times where you might have to cook on a grill because of rolling blackouts, right? So you have to prepare yourself differently. In this article that I have here, restaurant meals become a relative bargain as grocery prices soar. Yeah, because of grocery prices, yes, you're seeing that the gap between fast food or restaurant food is closing as far as pricing. And I've seen that, especially if you get like the coupons in mail, you know, you get the Subway and other coupons, and you're just like, wow, like some of these deals are actually really, really good. They're still trying to bring you in and try to get you to spend more money than what's on the coupon price. And that's how they make their money. And so I just want to put it out there that, you know, make sure you guys are, you know, prepping yourself. And I know that some people are waiting for some of this wealth transfer money, some of the seed money to come in so they can go ahead and stock up. And, you know, maybe you're just working on your own personal storehouse. But I do believe at some point God wants you to be a storehouse for a lot of other people. But I think that will come more or less when the seed money and some of the wealth transfer money comes in, that you will be able to be in a position to do this. This just goes to show the issues with food costs in general. We've seen prophetic dreams and visions that people have had dealing with fast food places running out of food, okay, here in the United States. If there's going to be a lot of issues with fast food, then you know there's going to be issues with grocery stores, right? And you can't help that. I mean, people have come to me, they've sent me dreams, I've found them looking on YouTube and stuff, and this is what they believe God is sharing with them, that these things are going to happen. So it's real to these people that are having these dreams and visions, dealing with what's going to be happening here in the United States. And thankfully, you know, we know the prophetic end to all of this. You know, when I think about it, you know, if I wanted to, say I want to go make some Subway sandwiches and I'm going to do it for 3 people, you know, I can go out and with a coupon from Subway, I could get 3 footlongs for $18.99. And I'm like, well, man, if I went to the grocery store, bought all the different meats, bought all the different bread, and then bought all the different toppings and all that stuff, and the time and the effort and the energy to put it together, it would just be quicker. And maybe it might cost me just a few dollars more, but I could have everything ready and prepared and within a short period of time. Right? So that's what I see what is happening. That's just like, say, Burger King. Right? I like Burger King's burgers, right? Because they're flame broiled. I don't like anything else that's on their menu. But, they have these coupons that are 2 for $5 or 2 for $6 Whoppers. Right? Now, if you were to go out to the store right now and buy yourself 2 quarter-pounder burgers, right? Buy the lettuce, the tomato, and the onion, right? And you take the time to cook it and put it all together. A 2 for $6 at Burger King sounds a lot more appealing than, especially on how much ground beef is, and then having to put it all together, use your energy to cook it, use your utensils to cut your tomato and your pickles and your onion and all that, and spread out your mayonnaise and ketchup. It's just a lot more convenient and almost as cost effective just to use your coupon for 2 for $6 at Burger King. That's just the way I kind of look at it, right? And I don't eat a lot of fast food anyway, but there are times when I don't have time to sit there and try to prep, a couple hamburgers when I could just go run up to the store really quick, give them my coupon, get my Whoppers, and I'm back at home. But there will come a time when they may not have the food. And you can see what they're doing already. And, they're shoving all these different articles about bug burgers, plant-based burgers, bug butter, and all this crazy stuff that they're trying to do, right? Because they're trying to reduce, with this whole fake climate change stuff. This is part of the reasons why we are going through all this. The Democrats didn't tell you they were going to be transitioning from gas to electricity as far as letting all the United States know that was their platform, because they didn't talk about it in the debates so much. But when you go back and you listen to what Joe Biden was saying about the gas companies, at least 5 or 6 different times, and different, where people were asking him questions while he was on his campaign trail, what he was going to do with gas and oil. He said he was going to get rid of it. There's not going to be any more drilling of gas and oil and all this stuff. That was the end goal, right? And you can see what the result of that is right now, right, folks? So there's nothing wrong with transition, but you can't leave a whole entire group of people behind. People can't afford electric vehicles, right? And so they're telling people, well, take the bus. If you can't afford the gas, get an electric car. And if you can't afford an electric car, take the bus. So this is what they're saying, right? And they say, get on a bike, do this, do that. Not everybody can do that. And if anybody has ever taken the bus around, yeah, it's not as fun as they make it out to be. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with transition, but this is not the way to do it. The burden is on the poor and the middle class. Things are starting to hurt rich people or wealthier people. It is happening. They are starting to shop at Walmart. They are starting to eat at cheaper restaurants and stuff like that. I saw some stats today about that. So anyways, folks, I just to touch on these things again because I think it's important, especially if you're involved within the wealth transfer, and to make sure that we are putting ourselves in the position. So, folks, that is all that I have for today. I thank you guys for listening. God bless. TC out.